Welcome back then. In this video, we're going to look at how we can use ChatGPT and the new image generator to create images for use in the classroom environment and in lessons. Let's get into it.
I need more energy.
So basically, I'm going to show you 16 ways to create images that will be useful in the classroom for different activities and things. We're basically going to look at classroom displays and decoration. We're going to look at learning resources, activities and games, and things to help motivate students and rewards. And they're just some general ideas of what you can use ChatGPT image generator for within the classroom. So let's start off with the first one then. We're going to be looking at classroom displays and decoration first and things that you might want to use to make posters and stuff. So in our first prompt, we're basically looking at a themed poster. So I'm going to use this cinematic classroom poster of ancient Egypt. Now, when you make some of these pictures, sometimes they'll do things wrong, sometimes they'll create the great things. So you can see this image that I've used from the prompt. I'll put all of the links to this in the description with all the prompts that you can use if you want to tweak them, change them. And basically it's created this great poster. However, the only issue I have is that the writing at the bottom isn't exactly what I want. Way to get around that is click on the image and it will bring up this here, and all you need to do is click on the select icon. You can download as well, save it here if you need to. You click on this and it will allow you then to highlight areas of the poster. If you want to change other things, you might want to put something in here, and then you just basically tell it what you want it to put into the description for the selection, and that will allow you to make those changes. I'm going to cancel that there though, but it gives you an idea of things you can do with regards to creating your own posters in your classroom. You can also add other images in there if you wanted to replicate other things. You can add them into it by using the plus icon. Not going to get into that in this part of the video though. Next thing I want to create as part of the classroom displays and decoration is looking at some stickers. So we want to make some transparent PNGs. So I've used this here. Basically it says create a PNG of a cute cartoon animal stickers for school reward chart. So basically when you do it here, you'll notice as I highlight it, the background is clear, and that's what we want, because then what you can do is download that image, and if you put it into a PowerPoint, it will allow you to put it over something without getting the white background, without having to remove it. That's quite handy. The other thing you can do though from here is we want to kind of like just make this a little bit better for our stickers. We want to actually add some comments. So add reward comments to each one. Now this was something that actually prompted me, did I want it to do? So one of the great things about ChatGPT is it will actually prompt you sometimes to say, hey, have you thought about this? And it might give you some other ideas. So by all means, when I come through these 16 different ways, you may create other ones, you might have other ideas as well. So what it suggested here was some common sort of things. So the star shining bright, you've done above and beyond. So I said, yeah, let's just go with those. So create a PNG, and then it's done it for me again here with these different stickers and the wording on there as well. Do check all the text. Don't just think that AI is just going to generate everything perfectly. Sometimes it makes mistakes, but on the whole, pretty pleased with most of those. And again, you can download them, cut them out, etc, etc. You can actually go onto Amazon as well if you wanted to, and sometimes on Amazon it will allow you to go to certain things. If you do a search for personalized stickers, you can actually send them to Amazon and they'll print them for you. Cost a little bit more, but if you want some really personalized ones, you want them to generate some things like that. Also you can do it for stamps as well. It's quite useful. Obviously you won't get all of the color and detail with the stamps, obviously, because they'll just tend to be the black and white ones, but again you can make some really personalized things if you want to. So that's that one. So next we want some wall art. So we might just want some like mindfulness type things. And again, I'm just going to create a general image here. So create a wall art mindfulness llama. And then we've got the prompt in here, and then we've basically got the image that is created here for us. And again, if we wanted to, we could click on this and we could tell it that we want to add some text in at the bottom down here, saying something like a quote or something that we want in there, just for those, again, more sort of posters and decorations around the classroom. So it just gives another idea for that. And then on the final one, on the classroom displays and decoration, we might want some desk labels. So I'm going to put this prompt in here, create desk labels, fantasy style nameplate design for a student's desk, or it could be for a book. And again, we'll get it to create this. So it comes up with this for us. And again, if we wanted to, we could make this into a PNG. So we could then print it off and then cut it out, or stick it onto something else for a design for like a label or for a book cover. So that will cover us for the first four. That takes us through the classroom decorations. Next, we're going to look at learning resources. So we might want to create some educational flashcards, a set of children's alphabet flashcards with illustrated animals, particularly useful for like your key stage 1. So again, it can generate things like this. Again, I would check it because looking at some of these images, they're not quite right. But you can reprompt it, check the spelling, check the actual image that aligns with what you want and the letters. But it gives you an idea of the things you could create. You could do one at a time if you wanted to. One of the best things about doing it one at a time is it allows you to check it a little bit more thoroughly before you then go to sort of print them. But again, this is something that we could highlight in here with this brush and say, you know, that we want to change this one, etc., into something else. But it just gives you an idea. So that's our first learning resource. Let's have a look at the next one then. We're going to look at badges and stamps. So similar to before, but we might want specific badges for subjects, for reading or for science, etc. So we're going to use this prompt here, digital badge designs for subjects. Now, when I generated this one, I made it as a PNG, which is fine. However, it's cut off the left-hand side here. So what I had to do is reword the prompt a little bit to make it correct. Create the PNG badges and stamps again, but provide more space for each one, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Now, because I said 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, there were originally only 3, so it's created a blank one for me at the bottom here. But again, you could give it another prompt to add something in here. Now, just checking on that, I don't think it's actually made it into a PNG, so we'd have to reprompt it for that. Again, it's just one of the things where we do have to sometimes correct AI with some of the tasks that we ask it to do. So that's that one. So badges and stamps. Next, we want a workbook illustrations. So this is something that we might want to go onto a PowerPoint or for a poster or something like that, but you might just want it to go into the next to the PowerPoint or for a knowledge organizer or something like that. You want to create something that's a little bit more useful. So we're going to create illustration of the water cycle for school workbook showing evaporation, condensation, and precipitation in a fun, child-friendly way. So when we generated this image, you'll notice it has made a couple of mistakes here. Not sure why we'd necessarily want this kind of pyramid in the background, and some of the wording and spelling bits and bobs aren't quite correct. But again, we can go back in and correct those. More often than not, when you give it the actual words, it will make sure that they're spelled correctly within the image. It's pretty good. But again, I'm just going through and rushing through these to give you an example of what it can do. The first one it generated for me was totally wrong. I generated another one, got this one with still a few errors in it. But again, you can go back in and regenerate this. Just so you're aware as well, if you're using the free ChatGPT, you will sometimes have to wait if you're generating lots of images. It has kind of like a limit on it. If you have the paid for version, you get a lot more image generation. However, it eventually will kind of prompt you to say you've used it quite a lot, and you'll need to just take like a bit of a time out. Sometimes it might say 5 minutes. Other times it will say that it needs, say, 15 or 20 minutes until you can generate more images. But it's pretty good in terms of you can get through quite a few, which is why I generated all these images before, just so that we could go through them in this video. So that's that one for demonstrations and visual sort of aids. Next, we want to look at sort of visual aids of emotions. And again, when I generated this originally, it came up with some really weird and wacky things. So I just did it again and it came up with this. It seems to have done 2 of the same, but you might want some different sort of cartoon style images. One of the things I would stress is that if you want different kind of styles and different kind of pictures of students, you might need to prompt it in terms of whether you want it to be all boys or girls or different ethnicities. AI at the moment is getting better, but it still tends to generate just sort of certain types of generic images, and you might need to prompt it if you want different types of pictures of students with different hairstyles, etc., etc. So just something to think about, but it's pretty good at generating images for you straight off the bat. You might just need to prompt it a little bit in terms of where you want it to go. So that's our visual aids in terms of emotions and stuff like that. That covers the kind of learning resources to start off with for displays and stuff. Next, I want to go into activities and games. So as we look at this, we're going to generate some playing cards, King of Spades styled as William Shakespeare and Renaissance attire, and then it generated this for us. Now again, you could do this in many different things. You could have different characters, different things. If you're teaching history, you might want different people from different time periods, and then use this for whether it's for creating games to play in the classroom or whether you want it for posters. things to go in books. Again, the kind of possibilities are limitless, really. It's all down to your own creativity, imagination. You can, again, get ChatGPT to prompt you with ideas, and that's one of the benefits of using it. So you've got that one for playing cards. Next, we wanted some type of kind of trading cards. So you might want to create like a different sort of like top trumps type game to help students revise. Great for like in primary schools, but also really useful for secondary schools if you want to create some resources. One of the things I would stress though with all of this is that time to impact ratio, in terms of it's great playing with it, but make sure you're thinking about what the use is going to be and how much impact it's going to have as well when you're generating these images. So the next one here, it's generated this card of Marie Curie. And again, I would need to go through and check all the details on that to make sure it's accurate. But if you put it into it and you tell it what you want it to, then it will pretty much use the information that you provided. But do check the information. Don't just assume that it's correct, because I've no idea about these dates. I'm not a historian, but it's certainly something I would go and check to make sure it's right. And again, you can prompt it with the sort of things that you want in terms of the images and things in the background and the style as well. The more information you provide, the better the image you're going to get, and the more accuracy in the image in terms of the things, the information you want as well. So that's that one for trading cards. Next, we want to look at dice and faces and spinners and symbols and things like that. So I've just basically said we want some basically colourful icons for classroom game spinner, a book, a pencil, so it could be numbers, could be just colours on the dice to make basically a net cube. Now I did have to kind of tweak this prompt to get it to come out with what I wanted, because initially when I created it, it wasn't quite doing what I wanted, but at the end it came up with this image here, which I thought was pretty good in terms of what I wanted. And again, we could print this off, put it onto paper, and then students could cut it out and create their own dice and stuff with it to play a game if you need to. So again, you could ask it to put anything you want in terms of onto the net of the cube, which can make it a little bit more interesting for students to make rather than just the standard dice. So last one in activities and games is a treasure hunt clues. So we're using this prompt here: vintage pirate map with cartoon elements for a school treasure hunt featured on a dotted path. X marks the spot, forest and cave, aged paper background. Now, it did most of it, but it didn't put the X marks the spot on here, so I probably want to regenerate this again and just make that really clear in the prompt. Again, it's not always 100% accurate, you can see, but still, the fact that it can generate that for you very, very quickly is quite useful and quite powerful. So that finishes up the activities and games. Next, we're going to lead on to student motivation. So in our last four, so we want to create some certificates. So it's not got my prompt in there for some reason. It seems to have skipped it out, but basically the prompt here was basically a customizable certificate of achievement with golden borders, laurel leaves, space for a name, and award title, elegant school design. This is what it came up with. And again, I had to re-prompt this because it kind of did it in the standard version, and what I really want to do is make this A4 landscape or 16:9, and it came up with this one here, which seems to be a better version of it for us. And again, we can use this to then copy and paste into like a PowerPoint slide, and then we can edit and adjust that to print it off if we want quick presentation. The other thing to use here as well is to go into Canva. If you don't understand or use Canva before, it's certainly worth looking into. You can get a free account as a teacher. Just use your email address and you can sign up to Canva, and you can create these sort of things really, really easily. And you can do kind of like Excel spreadsheet merges as well to get names in there for multiple awards. I'll do a separate video on that at another time, but that's quite powerful as well. So that's certificates. Next, if you want to create a coupon or vouchers, this one's quite handy, quite powerful if you want to do, like, say, Mrs. Such or such or Mr. this, that, and other special voucher for a award, you know, whether it's kind of like for a prize or for a sort of golden time, that sort of stuff, particularly in primary schools, useful. I've generated one for a free homework pass. I'm not really sure how that would work, but hey, that's what we'll go with. So we got this one here, homework pass. Maybe it's that you let someone off for one piece of homework. Not sure about that, but there you go. I then wanted to actually turn that into a PNG. So again, just prompted it to create a PNG for me. It's not showing that at the moment. So just click on there. There we go, PNG. You can see the background when you get the kind of checkered background. It means that it's clear, and that will allow you then to again post it onto PowerPoint or something like that. And then for the next one, we're looking at creating house teams and crests. So design a school house crest for Phoenix house featuring rising Phoenix flames, etc., etc. And it's generated this for us. So we've got this nice image down here. And what we can do from this is, again, I wanted to make it into a PNG, just the most useful style and format for it. And then that will do that. And we can see that background is cut out. So again, we could put that into a corner of a PowerPoint. If you're leading house assembly or an activity, you want to put it onto a document, it's just there ready to go. If you want a logo like that, and you want it to create one for you, or you just want to design new logos for your new house system, etc. Just really, really powerful in terms of that. And then the last one in terms of motivation reward, very loosely linked, is you might just want to have kind of like this prompt of what we call a 404 message, which is a standard error message on the internet. If you get a page or something that's not displayed properly, it'll come up with this 404 image of classroom display. So in a fun kind of illustration, student holding up this confused sign. So it could be like, you want to make a post or an image of something about to motivate students to ask questions. If they're not sure about something, then you can basically create this here for you. So that is basically 16 ways to create images that you can use through ChatGPT to basically show classroom displays, learning resources, activities and games, and student motivation rewards. I'll create some more coming soon with another load of different ideas that you can use for image generation in education, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks very much.
I need more energy.